On the other side of a storm is the strength that comes from navigating through it. Raise your sail and begin. Just because you're struggling doesn't mean that you're failing. I think sometimes people equate struggling with failure. It's not. It isn't even close. In fact, if you're struggling, it tells me that you're still in the game. We don't see these incredible opportunities first because every opportunity that you and I have is surrounded by a problem. I've never gone to an opportunity that I didn't have to go to the door of problems first. So the next time you have an obstacle, a difficulty, an adversity in your life, don't allow the crisis to numb you. Be alive, learn, feel, fail, learn. That's what it's all about if you want to make this difficult time a good time. I just want you to know that there's a hero within you. I know there is. And during this tough time, let the hero out. Let people see the best of you, your highest aspirations. You be the one who's the lifter and the encourager.
Hey, welcome to today's episode of Leadership When It Matters the Most Leader Series. Now, I promised you last week that this week we were going to have something extraordinarily special for you. Today, in the Leader Series of Leadership When It Matters the Most, John Maxwell is teaching on a tribute to Melvin Maxwell. Now, many of you may know, John and his family said goodbye to Melvin Maxwell last week. And John thought, how fitting would it be that in this series of leading during crisis, during difficulty, how appropriate to take his father, the most impacting leader in John Maxwell's life, and look at his 98 years of leading during difficult times, leading through awesome times. And in this leader series, John Maxwell do a special episode that is a tribute to his father's leadership. That's today. I'm so excited to introduce to you John, because today John is going to introduce and make even more familiar how powerful and how impacting his dad's leadership really is. As always, our desire is to add value to you so that you will multiply value to others. And today, John Maxwell is going to do just that. I look forward to you getting to see a leader that has made a difference. Here's John with a tribute to Melvin Maxwell. I hope you enjoy.
I'm so glad you're back with me today as I give my second lessons on tribute to my father. He passed away on July 4th, lived to be 98 years and 8 months, taught me a lot of great lessons. I want to again say to you that it's perhaps, I'm going to share a few lessons that will be about faith, and it's possible that you're not a person of faith and you know how much I value you. You don't have to be like me for me to value you. I value everybody. And so when I talk about faith, I don't want you at all to feel offended. I want you to know that I just care for you. And I only talk to you about it because that's part of my journey, my dad's journey. And I think what you'll love about me when I do talk about it is that you'll find that there are some principles in faith that will add value to you, whether you're a person of faith or not. So it doesn't matter. I just want you to know that these were lessons that helped me. And my name's John, and I'm your friend, and I want to pass them on to you. Now, in my first, and by the way, you can go back and pick up last week's lesson if you want to, the first tribute to my father. I gave you at that time 6 lessons. 1, add value to people. 2, pray without ceasing. 3, be consistent. 4, share my faith. These are things Dad taught me. 5, stay focused. And number 6, travel the high road. Now, I'm a little bit in trouble, to be honest with you. In fact, I'll show you my sheets right here. There are 29 lessons. So I'm going to do my best to get through. I thought I would do this in 3 times with you, but I only did 6, which means I've got 23 to go. It's a possibility there may be 4 lessons on tributes to my father, okay? Because I'm not sure I can get through in 3, but let's get going and see how far I go today. I'm going to start off with lesson number 7. And, okay, this is one that, he just lived out. And by the way, the lessons my father taught me were more than words. They were his actions. In fact, some of the lessons were more actions than his words, which is a kind of a good thing. I often say that if you're not really good, you just tell. In other words, you talk. But if you're really good, you show and tell. You not only talk, but you back it up with your actions. My dad was a show and tell man. Lesson number 7, encourage others. You have never met a person that was the great encourager that my father was. In fact, at his memorial service, one of the things I shared with in giving my time of loving him and respecting him to others, one of the things I shared with him in the message was that about him was the fact that he was a great encourager. And I closed my time at that memorial service by showing a 5-minute video when Dad was 88, and I had him come up onto the stage at a place where I was speaking, and I gave him a few minutes to talk about what he was doing and how he just encouraged, oh my gosh, a crowd of probably 6,000 or 7,000 people, and they were on their feet giving him a standing ovation. And I did that in the memorial service because I wanted people that didn't know him, they just hear me talk about him, just really get to see him in action. But he was a great, great encourager. One quick story. For a period of time, Margaret and I lived in a condominium, and in the condominium down at the bottom, they had a gym. And so I had a terrific physical trainer named Josephine, I called her Joe, that would meet me on a regular basis and take me through the paces of working out. And when my father came to visit us at the condo, he loved to go down to the gym with me, and because he loved Joe. And so when Dad was there, he'd say, "Are you going to the gym today, son?" "Yeah, I'm going, Dad." "Well, can I go?" "Oh, sure, you can go with me." But I knew that if Dad went with me, that she would begin me in my process of lifting weights and doing all the things I needed to do. And then within 5 minutes, she'd say, "Okay, John, start working your routine." And she'd leave me. Where is she going to go? She's going to go talk to Dad. And for the rest of the time, she'd be talking to Dad. I'd be over there going through the paces. She wasn't even looking at me. Because my father was such an incredible encourager, she loved to literally, quote, sit at his feet. And he would pour good stuff into her, belief into her, positivity into her. And there was more than one time, I'm over there, and I'm chopped liver, to be honest with you. Honest to God, she's listening to Dad. She's with Dad. She's not with me. And my father, one day, I looked over, and he's got his hand on the side of her head, and he's praying with her, and tears are just coming down her cheeks. And she just loved my father. Why? Because he was an encourager. I asked Dad one time. I said, "Dad, how do you know that people need encouragement?" Because he was encouraging everybody. I said, "How do you know they need to be encouraged?" He said, "Son, let me explain this to you. If they're breathing," I love this, "if they're breathing, they need to be encouraged." And that's exactly how my father lived his life. He called encouragement the oxygen of the soul. If you were around my dad, get ready to be encouraged. He didn't know how to have a conversation without saying things that would be positive and uplifting into your life. A great lesson that my father taught me. Another one, terrific lesson, was to work hard. My father was a very hard worker. In fact, he worked full time until 95. And he loved work. So work wasn't work to him. And it just literally came right down through the family. And for my brother, my sister, and myself, we all love to work. And work isn't work. And we find our mission, we find our passion, and it's just, we can hardly wait to do it. So he was an incredible example of working hard. But he also, in that working hard teaching he did, he taught us to work smart. It's not only how hard you work, but it's how smart you work. And one of the things that he did that was just very helpful, I think this helped me the most in the family because I was a fun-loving kid and not highly disciplined. I really wanted to do two things, play ball and be with my friends. And so my father would give me the chore list, and And what he would do is he would give it to me at the beginning of the week and say, John, here are the 5 things you need to do this week. And some of them I had to do every day, like take out the garbage. But then like clean the basement or wash the car. I didn't have to do that every day, but I had to do it that week. And my father would say, now, you can choose when you want to do this. If you want to, you can, in fact, if you got the list, you can go down and clean the basement now. You can go out and wash the car now. Or you can do it tomorrow. Or you can do it the next day. He said, you get to choose when you do that work. But he said, I just want you to know by Saturday at noon it has to be done. And they'd say, Saturday afternoon we're going to maybe go swimming. If you got your chores done, you can go swimming with us. But if your chore isn't done, you got to finish your chores. And I can still remember the day on Saturday afternoon when the rest of the family pulled out in the car, and I was at the front door watching them leave me because I hadn't cleaned the basement. And Dad said, well, you didn't prioritize your time, so you clean the basement, we'll go swimming. It was my dad that taught me how to pay now, play later. Huge teaching in my life. In fact, he said, let me tell you something. If you pay now, you'll get a play later. But if you just play now, you'll severely pay later. And he talked to me about how doing the right thing compounds into something positive and gives you options at the end. But if you don't do the first things first, you lose your options. And then toward the end of life, the payment really gets compounding and quite severe and difficult. And so my dad just came alongside of me and helped me to understand how to put first things first, how to work hard, how to prioritize my work, and pay now, play later. And it was an incredible lesson for me that just literally, it's just literally revolutionized my life. And to this day, I'm an early riser and I wake up early, and 5:30. I'm already getting my work done. In fact, my dad used just to say, John, it's just very simple. He said, if you rise early and you work and you prioritize your life well, he said, by the time everybody else is getting up, you're already ahead in the game. In fact, he said, be a person that everybody around you has to play catch up. I love that. In other words, he said, get started first. He was the first person to teach me it's not the fastest person that wins the race, it's the one who starts first. So work hard, work smart, get up early. It was just an incredible, incredible lesson that I packed away in my life and I learned for myself. And it's made a huge difference, no doubt about it. The next lesson is think positive. My father loved Norman Vincent Peale, the power of positive thinking writer, the power of positive thinking speaker, a tremendous motivational speaker in the 1900s, 1960, 2000. And my father loved him, and he loved his books. And you know that my father put books in our hands starting in the 7th grade and paid us to read books. And one of the first books he put in my hand was The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. And I'll never forget reading it and marking it and talking it over with my dad. And then one day he had a great surprise. He said, son, we're going to go to Columbus, Ohio next week. And Norman Vincent Peale is going to be speaking at Veterans Memorial Auditorium. And we're going to go hear him speak. And I just read the book and I was all excited. And I not only went with him up to Veterans Memorial Auditorium the next week in Columbus, Ohio, but I had the privilege of meeting Norman Vincent Peale. My father really understood the power of proximity and how bring your children around around people that have greatness. My friend Diana Kokoska has a great statement. She said, people move toward the conversations you have around them. How true that is. And my father knew that. So again, good books in my hands, good experiences, but to think positive. It was from my father that I basically learned my positive life stance. And a positive life stance is more than just a positive conversation. It's a positive way to live. And the positive life stance just simply says, good things will happen. Good things happen in life. Bad things happen in life. And it doesn't matter who you are. You're going to have good things happen to you. You're going to have bad things happen to you. If I have a positive life stance, if I have a good attitude, the bad things that happen to me won't be as bad as if I have a negative attitude. And the good things that happen to me will be better, so therefore I choose to think positive. I learned that, and I watched him live it. It was just incredible what I observed from him, and it just allows me to walk in sunshine. And my dad would say, John, it's not what happens to you, it's what happens in you. You don't have control of the outward circumstances, but you do have control of your inward spirit and your inward attitude. When I wrote the book, The Winning Attitude, one of the first books I wrote, really it was I think it was the sixth or seventh book I wrote, but it was the first book that really sold well. Okay, let's start there. It's the first book that other people were buying beside my family. Let's go there. And when I wrote the book, The Winning Attitude, it was just basically copying all of the incredible positive thinking, positive attitude stuff that my father had given to me. Just incredible teaching. When I wrote the book, How Successful People Think, it came out of a conversation with my dad about how he thought and how he chose to think on the right things. When I wrote my first book, Think on These Things, it was out of Philippians chapter 4, verse 8, the things that are good, right, pure, think on these things. It was ingrained on me to think positively. And I look back at my life now and I say, my life was incredibly, unbelievably, beautifully changed because I chose the right attitude. And by the way, your attitude, your thinking, my father would say this all the time, is a choice. It's a choice. So the attitude that I have today, whether it's positive or negative, I chose. It wasn't something that, my boss put on me at work. And, if you had to live with my family, or if you had to work where I worked, or you had to live in the location I live in, you'd have a bad, no, it's a choice. It's a choice. And we get to make that choice. Isn't it amazing? Some of the most important things like positive thinking and attitude. In fact, I wrote a book called The Difference Maker. And the whole thesis of that book is that attitude isn't everything, but it's the main thing. And I love that. And it's the difference maker. If you have two people that you're going to hire in your company, and both of them have the same experience, pretty much the same skill set, but one has a great positive attitude and the other one has a very negative attitude. This is an IQ test. Who are you going to hire? You're going to hire the person that has the positive attitude. All things being equal, if you and I are on the very same level, all things being equal, if you have a great attitude and I have a poor attitude, all things being equal, when somebody has to choose one of us but can't choose both of us, they'll choose you. I'll get left out every time. Why? Not because I lack the ability or the talent or the experience or the skill. No. You had a better attitude. It gave you a step up on me. And my father knew that and understood that and practiced that. Oh, we lived in an incredible positive attitude environment. And my father had it to the day that he died. Literally, a couple years before he passed away, he looked at me, he said, John, we were having a lunch. He said, John, what was he, 96? He said, I've been thinking about my life. He said, I think my greatest days are still ahead. As a man thinketh in his heart, my dad would teach me, so is he. It all begins there. Another lesson my father taught me, this one's huge also. Wow. This is a faith lesson, okay? Is my dad just taught me to put God first. And, one of the things that we were paid to memorize as kids, Scripture, and one of the first things I was paid to memorize was the Ten Commandments. And I can still remember sitting together in old family gatherings and standing up and quoting the Ten Commandments. And my father loved the commandment, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Just put God first. Matthew 6:33. Seek first God and his kingdom, and all of the things will be added unto you. Now, I know this is heavy faith for some of you, but just hang on with me just for a moment, because there's an incredible principle that I learned out of it. He just basically said to me that God is your creator, and God created you for greatness, and he knows what's best for you. Now, here's the question. If God created me for greatness, he created you for greatness. He sure did. Whether you believe in him or not doesn't matter. He still created you for greatness. And if he created you for greatness, and he gave you a purpose that would help you be great, he said, doesn't it make sense the person who put it all together for you is the person that you should know the best, because the more you hang with them, the more they'll help you fulfill that purpose and greatness within you. I love that. So he said, put him first. And what you'll find is that if you'll put him first, all the other stuff that you need in life, you'll get. But if you put everything else first and not God, you'll leave out of your life the most important relationship that you could possibly have. Now, I could go so many ways with this incredible principle. There's a tithing principle. Again, whether you're a person of faith or not, there's a tithing principle that 10% of your income goes to good things, charity, God, faith things that are upbuilding to other people. And so he taught us to tithe, with the promise that gives us in the scripture that if you'll put him first financially, if you'll donate to good causes, not only your money but your time, etc. else, what's the promise? That he'll protect you, and he'll keep you protected, and that he will pour out a blessing. In fact, the scripture says, God says, test me in this, put me first financially. In fact, it's the only place in the Bible where God says, test me. I mean, usually when you test God, it's not a good thing. It's kind of like, I'm not sure you're right on that one. I'm going to push a little bit. But on this one, because money is so important to all of us, he said, if you just put me and my cause first, he said, then I'll open the windows of heaven. I'll pour out a blessing for you that you won't be able to even to handle. He just basically teaches us, put God first financially, and all these other things will be added to you. And my father understood that, and my father lived that, and my father taught that to us. And if you talk to my brother, you talk to my sister, they would tell you that incredible principle of God first in your life has just given us incredible blessings, blessings we don't deserve, blessings that we certainly didn't earn, blessings that surprise us. Why? Because God understands that if we put him first and seek him first in his kingdom, then he is obligated as God to take care of all the other things in your life. It was an incredible, incredible principle that my dad taught me. Let me give you another one. My father, oh my goodness, the lessons that he taught me. He taught me to walk slowly through the crowd. I shared with you that my father was a college president, and he would make daily walks across the campus just to see the students. He would time his walks with the time that kids would be out on the grounds. Classes would be dismissed. And he would walk across the campus, and I would walk with him many times. And it would take him sometimes 30 minutes to walk a couple hundred yards. Because every student, he would stop, and he knew them all by name. That was another thing he taught me, to remember names. That's another story, another lesson. But he would call them out and call them by name and say, how are you doing? How are your classes? Are we helping you? Is there something you need me to do to help you? And just he would offer his hand to help them. He would sometimes stop and pray with them. He was interested. How's your family back home? Are you okay? And they in fact, when the reason he walked slowly through the crowds is because whenever he was with people, they looked at him waiting to see if he'd come by them, because they knew they were going to get a dose of encouragement in their life. Today, if you would talk about this to the students at that campus, they would tell you one of the highlights of going to Circleville Bible College, that's what it was called then, it's a High Christian University now. One of the highlights was having seen Dad on the campus walking through the people, because they knew that it was only a matter of time till he was going to come by again, and he was going to encourage them. And so walking slowly through the crowd is a lesson that I just learned. He said, just touch people, just touch them everywhere. Always touch people. And again, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I learned that from my dad. Now, let me give you one more maybe lesson. I don't know if I have, maybe one, perhaps two, but maybe one more. This one is my father taught me to trust and obey God. And he said to me, John, what you have to understand is that God knows what's best for your life, and his ways are higher than yours, and so you have to have faith and trust in him to take care of you. And he taught me that great principle that when he asks you to do something, do it, obey him. And he's always taught me that when he asks you to do something, sometimes it doesn't make sense on the front end, but he said, do it anyway, just do it anyway. And he taught me the great principle that obedience is understood only on the back end, not the front end. After you obey God, all of a sudden you say, oh, I see it. Oh, my goodness, I had no idea. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? Just on the back end, on the back end. Just obey him. And you'll see God's hand in everything. I love the statement of Spurgeon. It says, God is too good to be unkind. He's too wise to be confused. If you cannot trace his hand, you can always trust his heart. That's what my dad taught me. Trust and obey God. I kind of want to stop here just for a moment to share with you that I've given a couple lessons of faith again, and it's possible that you're not a person of faith, but you are really interested in having a relationship with God. You just haven't had anybody show you how. Well, I'm your friend. My name is John. And if you'll go to maxwellfaith.com, you'll watch me share with you the 4 pictures of God, which basically help you to see God as he really is, because the moment you see God as he really is, not as we think him to be, you'll fall in love with him and want a relationship with him. So if you go to maxwellfaith.com, I'll share with you the 4 pictures of God, and then our team will get to you. They'll reach you. And if you decide to begin that relationship with God, we've got some free resources, no strings attached at all, just free resources. We want to give you a study guide, and then I have a special surprise for you. But if you decide you really want to make a relationship with God work, or you maybe have seemed far from him, you kind of like to get close to him, just you go to maxwellfaith.com, and I think it'll kind of maybe start you on a beautiful spiritual journey. Well, it's obvious that I'm going to do 4 lessons on tributes to my dad because I'm not even quite halfway through, but I promise you we'll put them all in 4, and you'll get all the lessons Dad taught me, helped me to live. Hopefully they'll add value to you. So this was lesson number 2 on tributes to my dad. Next week, lesson number 3.
Thanks for being with us today on the Leadership When It Matters the Most program. I hope John encouraged you in your leadership just like he encouraged me. Our goal in this time of crisis is to come alongside you, add value to you so you can multiply value to others. If you go to johnmaxwell.com, you'll find free resources, tools that will help you lead in these very unique times. You'll find our podcast, John Maxwell Leadership Podcast, Minute with Maxwell, a daily word that John will bring to you, as well as our leadership blog. All of those resources on johnmaxwell.com, and they are free and ready for you to encourage you as well as you encourage others. Thanks for joining us. We look forward to seeing you soon when leadership matters the most.